Good evening, everyone. We'll call this meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming tonight. Al, if you could start us off with a roll call.
Benson.
Here.
Sarda. Here. Burdick.
Here.
Gross. Here. Mybaum.
Here.
Minor. Here. Moser.
Here.
Mayor Johnson.
Here.
City Manager Leone.
Here.
City Attorney Denver.
Here. You have before you the minutes of the regular meeting of April 8th and the special City Commission meeting of April 12th. What is your pleasure?
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any commission discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? Thank you very much. Next, we have a proclamation. All right, this is for Yankton Area Mental Wellness Conference Days. Whereas June 5th and 6th, 2019 are the dates when Yankton Area Mental Wellness, Inc. will host the 21st Annual Yankton Regional Mental Wellness Conference at Mount Marty College in Yankton. And whereas the overall mission is caring for self, caring for community. And the 2019 conference theme is Together Towards Tomorrow, reflecting the need for holistic care, which can be attained through collaboration between community services, educational systems, and mental health treatment. And whereas the commitment to training and networking is evident in Yankton, a community that is extremely concerned about serving those in need, strives to educate students for future employment in healthcare and mental health, and represents a region rich in resources and professional expertise to educate others. And whereas Yankton Area Mental Wellness, Inc. and professionals from Yankton, from South Dakota, from the Midwest, and beyond have joined forces to present a variety of sessions to educate conference participants with current information, available resources, a network of support, regional expertise, and professional credit. Now, therefore, I, Nathan Johnson, Mayor of the City of Yankton, do hereby proclaim June 5th and 6th, 2019, as Yankton Area Mental Wellness Conference Days in the City of Yankton. And I believe Dr. Standage is going to tell us a little bit about this year's conference.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Commissioners. How do I follow that? I mean, the Yankton Area Mental Wellness Conference is the 21st year. 20 years ago, I would have never predicted that we would have been here talking to you today. And I think the thing that makes the conference's success and what's unique about it is the planning is done, and it's a collaboration between, I think, every human service providing agency in Yankton. So it's unique in that way. Every year we have 250 or more attendees, and it's, if not certainly statewide and regionally, it's a conference that many, many people have attended. So thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mayor. Yep.
To say I have attended that in the past and definitely learned some things. So thank you for all you do to organize it. Next, we have a very special proclamation. It's a proclamation of appreciation. Whereas Charlie Gross was born and raised in Yankton. You okay, Charlie? And whereas Charlie has been a member of the Yankton City Commission for more than 24 years and has served 6 terms as mayor. And whereas our community is appreciative of Charlie's record of community service, dedication, and positive influence through volunteer service or volunteer action. And whereas Charlie's commitment to Yankton and its citizens is exceptional. And whereas the City of Yankton is honored to have Charlie Gross in our community, and that he proudly calls Yankton home. It is proudly, isn't it, Charlie? Okay, good. Whereas the City Commission and the citizens of Yankton believe it is important that we take a day to officially recognize Charles Gross for his professionalism, civic service, and dedication to making our community a better place for all. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Nathan Johnson, do hereby proclaim May 13th, get this in your notes, May 13th, 2019, as Charlie Gross Day in the city of Yankton. You have something you want to say? Everyone that knows Charlie knows he's a little bit shy. He will have one more meeting with us, so we'll get some final thoughts out of him then. So May 13th is Charlie Gross Day. Sometimes we get to do fun things here. Next, we'll have the city manager's report.
Well, Colleen and I had all sorts of things to add for the whereases, but we deleted most of them. So we'll have to share some of those with you after you leave the commission. Honorable Mayor, members of the Commission and Public, our mission statement is to provide exemplary experiences, services, and spaces that create opportunities for everyone to learn, engage, and thrive. I have a couple things for you this evening. One, we do not need the executive session, so when the agenda was planned, I thought we did, but I'll ask that be removed from your agenda since we do not need that this evening. Also, I wanted to mention that we have our sales tax numbers. I know our media has reported on them for us, but I want to reiterate, we were slightly up for the month of March. That's good. With the three pennies, first, second, and triple B, 2.59%. We're still down for the year, 0.66%, but that's the direction we want to be heading. So I'm looking forward to strong numbers now that spring has finally sprung. I hope that we're heading in that direction continually. Just to ask you to pull out your phones and check your calendars regarding budget meetings. This is on your consent calendar, but I do want to ask you to make sure that we're going to have enough people here. I have talked with Commissioner Hoffner. These dates work for him. June 24th is a regular meeting, Monday. We have discussed starting the budget meeting at 5:15 that evening here, continuing through our work session, and then having your regular meeting, and then if you want to keep working later into the evening, continue to work, and then also holding June 25th, which is Tuesday, at 5:30 for the rest of that meeting. At that time, I would also include a recommendation on outside agencies and give that to you all to discuss at that budget meeting. For our second set of meetings, we're looking at August the 6th and 7th. I believe that is a Tuesday and Wednesday evening to hold the budget, second round of budget meetings. So if that works for you, you can approve that during consent calendar. Otherwise, we can talk about alternate dates. We had to work around a lot of vacations and different things that are happening on the commission, so hopefully most of you could make those dates work. If there's any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'll let you move on to your business.
Are there any commission questions for the city manager? All right. Next is public appearances. This is a time for anyone who wishes to address the commission about something not on tonight's agenda. We ask that you step up to the podium if you would like to address us. I think there may be. Yep. And if you could please identify yourself for us. Thank you.
My name is Matt Evans. I am trying to bring up something new. I think it was a couple weeks ago. I was here for the West Side Park meeting. This kind of goes a little bit beyond what that is. So about 20 years ago, I was on a subcommittee to build the skate park, design and get it going. The tennis courts were kind of what's the word? They didn't look the greatest at the time, so they talked about getting rid of one, pretty much. I helped design it, buy the ramps, build the ramps, so on and so forth. I do have a little memo that I wrote up. I've been in coordination with Todd from Parks and Rec and Dave Mingo also. If I'm not following any guidelines that you guys would like me to follow, just let me know and I'll do whatever. I printed off a few of these. I don't know if you guys would like them or if you want me to read them, or I can do pretty much whichever you like. Basically, I think I might just read through it. If it's okay, it's just a one-page thing. It might take a couple minutes.
Yep. So we do try to limit it to about 3 minutes. So if you
Yep,
could summarize a little bit. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. So I wrote up a memo here on the Yankton Skate Park. The skate park ramps in Yankton, South Dakota have been slowly rotting away. The ramps have been removed by the city one by one due to how dangerous the ramps are when they have rotted wood. We have found a new company that has metal ramps with sheeting, makes the ramps very durable and great to ride at the same time. Unfortunately, these ramps are very expensive due to how long they last. Yankton youth deserves to have a great skate park, a fun, I lost my spot, I'm sorry, a fun and safe facility. I have talked to Yankton Parks and Recreation, and there are no funds set aside for the skate park. Yankton Parks and Recreation has agreed that we can start a fundraiser to help pay for these ramps and help out Yankton's youth. Our community once pulled together to make this skate park 20 years ago. Adults, kids, Parks and Recreation, and our city worked together to build a dream. These people raised around $30,000, and the city of Yankton then matched their raised amount to accumulate a grand total of around $60,000 to build a new skate park. The new ramps were ordered by the city, shipped to the skate park. The ramps were put together by the ramp manufacturer, Yankton's Youth, and many parents, after which the dream was built. Over the years, some of the ramps were replaced. One specific ramp was donated by Kohlberg Pioneer. Some ramps were not replaced but thrown away due to how they were made of wood and rotting away and being very dangerous. I propose that we try to rebuild this dream again. I have contacted the ramp company called Rampage Skate Parks, who has worked with us in the past, and they have very durable ramps that are metal, so they will not rot away, with a skate-light sheeting, which is like wood, but much more durable. These ramps, if ordered now, at least take 2 months to get here. I'm not saying that we need to order them now. I'm just saying that's the lead time, is 2 months to get here. As summer approaches, these kids will not have the ramps that they had last summer. A lot of these kids are very sad and disappointed because their dream park is slowly deteriorating. I would like to order these ramps as soon as possible in any way to make sure that these kids have the skate park they need and want. It is very hard to find fun things to do as a kid to keep out of trouble. I believe these new ramps will do just that. I am currently working with Kohlberg Pioneer to fix the current half pipe so it is more user-friendly. In the last 2 weeks, I have already raised $4,396 with a Facebook fundraiser. I would like to team up with the City of Yankton once again to fulfill this dream. My goal is to raise $10,000 in hopes that the City of Yankton will match that $10,000 to help us rebuild the skate park. I am looking for ideas to help fast track this project to help our youth and make sure that they have a good skate park to make memories this year. If you have any questions, I have a Facebook page that is Yankton Skate Park Fundraiser, and I also, my cell phone, anytime you can call me at 661-7024. Thanks.
Thank you, Matt. So I know you've been talking to Todd and Dave already, so you've done the right thing as far as getting the process started. We'll be going through our budgeting process, as you heard here, this summer, and so that's probably where we're going to have to look at any matching funds.
Okay.
So we certainly appreciate you taking the initiative to help partner with us. Public-private partnerships are always desirable, especially when they produce results that can enhance the community. So at this time, I think we'll plan on putting this on our May 13th agenda, since you've provided us with some information now, and we'll see where it goes from there. Do you have any more questions of us?
Nope.
Since this isn't on the agenda, we're kind of
Yep.
limited on how much we can
Yep,
discuss it.
that's what they told me. They told me just to bring what I had with kind of a memo to let you guys know what I'm thinking, to kind of get it on the agenda and figure it out from there.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
All right, now we will, or is there anyone else in the audience who would like to address the commission about something not on tonight's agenda? Okay, then we will move on to the consent agenda. Number one is consideration of memorandum 19-88, recommending approval of the application from Habitat for Humanity, Clay and Yankton counties to hold a street dance on June 13th, 2019 at 218 Capitol Street. Number two is consideration of memorandum 19-89, recommending approval of an application for a peddler's license for AT&T for two people to go house to house to sell new TV, internet, and cell phone services from July 1st through 31st, 2019. Number three is discussion of setting our budget workshop meeting dates in June and August, and the city manager has laid out the proposed dates for us. Number four, establish May 13th, 2019 as the date for the public hearing on the application of a new retail on-off sale malt beverage license for June 30th, 2018 to July 1st, 2019 for P&P Lottery Enterprises LLC, which is James Palmer at 3010 Broadway Avenue. Number five is establishing May 13th, 2019 as the date for the public hearing on the transfer of ownership and location of a retail on-off sale malt beverage license for July 1st, 2018 to June 30th, 2019 from Bernard Properties LLC with Melsina Bernard as managing partner to P&P Lottery Enterprises LLC, which is again at 3010 Broadway. Number six, establish May 13th, 2019 as the date for the public hearing on the transfer of ownership and location of a retail on-off sale malt beverage license for July 1st, 2018 to June 30th, 2019 from YC Library LLC, doing business as Capitol Street Pub at 401 Capitol Street, to P&P Lottery Enterprises at 3010 Broadway. Number seven, establish May 13th, 2019 as the date for the public hearing on the transfer of location and ownership of a retail on-off sale liquor license for January 1st, 2019 to December 31st, 2019 from P&P Lottery Enterprises LLC at 3010 Broadway to YC Library at 401 Capitol Street. Number eight, setting June 18th, 2019 as a possible quorum event for the Chamber Ag Gala. No official commission action will be taken. Number nine, consideration of memorandum 19-92, recommending approval of the application from the Meridian District for transient merchant license for May 4th through June 3rd, 2019. And finally, number 10, setting April 30th, 2019 as a possible quorum event for the Mount Marty College Fieldhouse groundbreaking, and there will be no official commission action taken at that event. What is your pleasure? We have a motion and a second. Is there any commission discussion on any of these items? Would anyone in the audience like to address the commission on any of these items? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Moving on to old business. Number one is a public hearing regarding ordinance number 1021, amending the Animal Ordinance Chapter 5-24. And this would implement the trap, neuter, release program. What is your pleasure?
I move the memorandum.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any commission discussion on this item? I do have one question. So when the animals are released, where are they going? Was that ever settled?
I believe they're released, and I might ask Corporal Parker to help me with this, but I believe they're being released in the general vicinity from which they're found. I happen to be a cat expert myself, and I know that cats live in clouders, and they have a certain geographic area with which they prowl.
And so it's the Humane Society that would actually drop them off?
Correct. The Humane Society will do the trapping and spay and neutering, and then the sort of catch and release back to its neighborhood, and then over time, the population should go down if the program is working as it should and no new cats are introduced.
And the timeline for all of this to take place, if it's voted on tonight and supported?
I believe that Heartland is ready to go at any time, and so now that the weather is suitable, I presume they'll be looking for volunteers for that program. It's going to be volunteer primarily run, so I hope they don't catch any of my cats.
Is there any more commission discussion? I would thank Brad there in the back, Brad Parker, for helping us put this together. Ross and Amy as well, and whoever else on city staff was involved. With that said, is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the commission on this item? All right, roll call.
Benson.
Aye.
Sarda.
Aye.
Burdick.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Mybom.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Moser.
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye, motion passes. Number 2 under old business is consideration of memorandum 19-80 regarding the request for a special events on sale liquor license for June 9th, 2019 from the VFW at 209 Cedar Street, and that would be for the City Hall Gymnasium. What is your pleasure?
I'll move the memorandum.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any commission discussion on this item?
Question, Dropbox says June 8th, and the memo says June 9th, which you just read. I'm wondering which is the correct date. Not life or death, but
I'll have to look here.
In the meantime, would anyone in the audience like to address the commission on this item?
June 8th is a Saturday. Apologize for the discrepancy.
So do we need to amend the motion for that?
Probably, yes.
the memorandum says the 8th. Is that correct?
I believe it's the 8th because the 8th is a Saturday. So if the motion wasn't, if you were making your motion off the memorandum, which I believe you were, then we would not need to.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. With that, Al, could you do roll call, please?
Sarda.
Aye.
Burdick.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Mybom.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Moser.
Aye.
Benson.
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye, motion passes. Number 3 under old business is consideration of memorandum 19-81 regarding the request for a special events on sale liquor license for June 8th, 2019 from Han Inc., doing business as Ben's Brewing Company, for the Razcac Roundup, and that will be in the parking lot and green space west on the west side of the Meridian Bridge and the enclosed area of Levy Street. What is your pleasure?
Move the memorandum.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any commission discussion on this item? The Razcac Roundup is a biking event, correct? Oh. I thought that looked different than what I was seeing elsewhere. Would anyone in the audience like to address the commission on this item? Roll call.
Burdick.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Mybom.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Moser.
Aye.
Benson.
Aye.
Sarda.
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye, motion passes. Number 4 under old business is consideration of memorandum 19-82 regarding the request for a special events retail on sale liquor license for 7 days, That'd be July 4th, 11th, 18th, 25th, and August 1st, 8th, and 15th, 2019, from Ben's Brewing Company at 222 West 3rd Street for the Music at the Meridian, and that event will again be held in the parking lot and green space on the west side of the Meridian Bridge in the enclosed area of Levy Street. What is your pleasure?
Move the memorandum.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any commission discussion on this item? Would anyone in the audience like to address the commission on this item? Roll call.
Gross.
Aye.
Mybom.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Moser.
Aye.
Benson.
Aye.
Sarda.
Aye.
Burdick.
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye, motion passes. Number 5 under old business is consideration of memorandum 19-83 regarding the transfer of ownership of a retail on-off sale malt beverage license for July 1st, 2018 to June 30th, 2019 from J. Amby 8 LLC doing business as Freedom Value Center to iMart Stores LLC, and they are located at 301 Broadway Avenue. What is your pleasure?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any commission discussion on this item? Would anyone in the audience like to address the commission on this item? Roll call.
Mybom.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Moser.
Aye.
Benson.
Aye.
Sarda.
Aye.
Burdick.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye, motion passes. Number 6, under old business, is consideration of memorandum 19-85 regarding the transfer of ownership of a retail on-off sale malt beverage license for July 1st, 2018 to June 30th, 2019 from J. Amby 8 LLC, doing business as Freedom Value Center, to iMart Stores LLC at 301 Broadway. What is your pleasure?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any commission discussion? Would anyone in the audience like to address the commission on this item? Roll call.
Minor.
Aye.
Moser.
Aye.
Benson.
Aye.
Sarda.
Aye.
Burdick.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Mybom.
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye, motion passes. Number 7 under old business is consideration of memorandum 19-84 regarding the transfer of ownership and location for a retail on-off sale malt beverage license for July 1st, 2018 to June 30th, 2019 from the Elks Lodge 994 at 504 West 27th Street to Zacone Inc., doing business as Roadrunner Convenience Mart at 300 West 23rd Street. What is your pleasure?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any commission discussion on this item? Would anyone in the audience like to address the commission on this item? Roll call.
Moser.
Aye.
Benson.
Aye.
Sarda.
Aye.
Burdick.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Mybom.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye, motion passes. Now we are entering new business. And number 1 under new business is consideration of memorandum 19-93 regarding a request by the Meridian District for a special event during the 2019 Farmers Market. I don't know if, Amy, did you want to start off discussion on this?
Sure. We've had several discussions. Staff has had several discussions with several representatives from the farmers market. We're not entirely sure what location they're looking at, so that's why the memo is written as it is, because we've discussed a number of locations. So I see there's already someone up at the podium, so hopefully we can get a little better understanding what they're looking to do and help them, because I believe farmers market will start before our next commission meeting, already the first Saturday in May. So we want to help get them on their way. So I'll let you hear from them and see what motion you might want to make after that.
Hi, Veronica Trizona. I'm the, what am I? Okay, I'm the chairperson of the market at the Meridian Farmers Market. And this has been, a task has been handed to us as vendors this year. And we've been meeting quite a few times to figure out a good location for us to meet, to have the market. And it looks as if we would like to have it on Walnut between 2nd and 4th. We would like to set up on the sidewalks and also close the street from 3rd Street north to the alley on Saturday mornings between 7:30 to 12:30. And I have signatures here from everyone, almost everyone, between 2nd Street and 4th Street, approving that.
The signatures are from the business
The business owners. There's one that's duplicated because I made a copy so that somebody at one of the law firms could sign it.
Just as they're looking over those, so are you looking for street closure as well as no parking? Or just?
Yes, street closure as well as no parking, because we do have things that want to be pulled in there, because
Sure.
we cannot, most of us can sell from just the table setup, but there are trailers and that sort of thing to pull in.
Sure, sure. Thank you.
So walk me through all the farmers markets that were downtown. There was some in the green space, and then there were some where the new Stockwell building was
Right.
located, correct? Mm-hmm. Are they the same thing?
Yes.
Were they both going on concurrently last year?
There wasn't one going in Stockwell space last year.
No.
Okay, it was the year before?
Right.
Yeah, I think so.
We were there last year, we were in green space.
Okay, okay. And then there's one in the Yankton Mall parking lot, correct? That's
Yeah, I
separate?
feel like there's sometimes folks that set up there, and then also,
At Larry's.
yes, thank you. I bought some corn there.
Brittany, did you maybe want to share some of that history for us?
So last year, the city had a partnership with the Meridian District, and the market at the Meridian was one of our partnerships, and that was at the lawn. It is that same market that is now vendor ran, that is asking to move to the street between, on Walnut from 2nd to 3rd, and then the half block from 3rd to 4th. So there would no longer be a market at the lawn. It is my understanding that they're trying to get all of the other vendors that kind of are spread out around town to join the market that would possibly be on the street. But I'm not sure if they quite know yet how many will come into this market. I think a lot of it is dependent on where the location is.
So you're just requesting like half a block closures from 3rd Street north, half a block?
Right.
But no parking from 2nd all the way to 4th?
No. People can park there, that's fine. It's just, we want the street closed from 3rd north.
So the whole discussion with the no parking is just in that half block? zone?
Right, exactly.
Would this be for Thursday nights and Saturday mornings?
No, this would just be for Saturday mornings.
Okay.
Has there been any businesses, you said you got most of them, have there been any that have been against it or opposed to it that didn't sign?
There are 2 businesses that did not sign. One of them is the old post office, and their headquarters are in Lincoln, Nebraska. And so they just haven't gotten back to me on that. But the Lewis and Clark Theater does not want to have us there. They do not want the street closed.
Amy, how typically does that work then for like a half a street closure for, 4-hour
Sure.
4-hour event in the morning?
I'll let Brittany say exactly, but I think the process starts on a Thursday evening for a Saturday closure. But do you want to explain the process, Brittany?
Yep, so the ordinance says that there has to be signs out 48 hours in advance. So then the organizing committee would come and get our special event A-frames and set them out so that the public is well aware and the businesses, can help relay that to their customers, what the closure actually is. And then for closures, we always make sure that they stop right at an alley, so that if someone does come down, they're able to turn around and safely get out without, holding up traffic or kind of, going the wrong way or anything like that. I have talked to the organizers and let them know what all goes on with closing a street, and they have all agreed that they have enough people on their organizing committee or within the market that can help make this work. And so there will be a couple times where we'll be a little bit short on event signs just because of the other events that are going on. But I think we can make it work for event signs. And they also know about Rib Fest happening. That has already been granted to Rib Fest, so they will either not have it that day or they will find a different location.
So what's typically the turnaround to get that street opened back up again if the event closes or ends at 12:30?
The event ends at noon.
Yep, so the street closure has given them time to set up and then also tear down. So the farmers market ends at noon. Last year we were typically up and out of there by 12:30, so then they would be able to pull the barricades up off the street and open the street back up. I've also let all the organizers know that the street closure comes before setting up their vending. Since all of the organizers vend at the market, the priority would be the street closure and then setting up their vending space, just because we don't want them setting up while cars are driving through. So they've been made aware of that as well.
I guess with that kind of a time frame, I would be curious to see why the theater company would be against it.
They are going to have an event on May 4th that's going to start at 1 o'clock, and I don't remember what type of event it is. I didn't get to speak to the president today. I spoke to the secretary, and he's afraid that people will start to come by 12:30 for that event. And I haven't spoken to him directly yet. I've called him several times, but haven't been able to make contact.
So it's just over one day.
And they're also having another event in, I believe it's June, that will start at the same time at 1 o'clock.
Do we have a map, or can we pull up a map that shows this? I'm kind of struggling with what 3rd Street to the alley means. Is there any way we can pull that up?
So Veronica, maybe just to clarify, do you guys want the half a block from 3rd to 4th? Is that what you're asking? When we were out there talking, that's the part where you want no parking, or do you still want 2nd to 3rd? Because I can maybe talk it through so you guys understand it a little better, but I guess I need just a little more clarification from you.
What? I don't know what you said. What did you say?
So when we had gone out there and talked about
Yes.
it, you guys had told me 2nd to 3rd, that whole block, and then also the half block from 3rd to 4th, leaving the intersection open, so a total of 1.5 blocks. Is that still what you want for the no parking?
No.
Okay, so is it just that half block that we had talked
Yes.
about? From 3rd to 4th? Okay, so they're talking about from 3rd, so where Marlowe and Huff, to the half a block. It's right by the Moose, the GEM, cheers, the GEM group. There's a little alley there, so it would be right before there, so they can utilize that alley. If that clears it up for you a little bit. It's the south half block from 3rd to 4th.
I mean, normally we have a map in front of us, wouldn't we go
Yes.
through that process?
Norm-
Let's just get a map and,
Normally you do. We did not have clarification on what it was that
Okay.
when we put the packet together, but we can get the commission a map if you want to wait for approval. We can put that, all the information together. We weren't exactly clear where they were looking, so that's why you didn't have that information in your packet. But we can put together a map, or we can, if you want to act on this, we can get a map to you now that we know exactly what they're looking at.
Paul just pointed out to me that Brittany was correct. We don't want parking on the west side of the street between 2nd and 3rd. Because apparently we're going to have to be on the sidewalks right there. So if someone pulls in right behind us, that would not be conducive to.
We'd have to close that block down. We couldn't do half a block. It'd be one way.
So when she says half a block, she means like the north half of the block from the alley, not just half of the street.
But you're also talking about Second to Third, the
Yeah.
the west half of that block. So essentially,
So-
we'd have to close that down as well.
Right.
We wouldn't do it one way.
Oh,
Just
she
the
said
parking.
west.
You'd want traffic going through there? Two-way traffic?
Yes.
Oh.
Okay. All right.
So you guys want the full 1.5 blocks? So the whole 1.5 block, so that would be the entire block from Second to Third, leaving the intersection open, and then closing the half block from Third to Fourth. So then the alley by Gem Group stays open for traffic from that north half block on Walnut to 4th Street. So there's no closure coming off of 4th Street.
So if there's no closure coming off,
No.
right. So if there's no closure off of 4th Street, then there is no issue with the Lewis and Clark Theater Company. Correct?
Yep. But the signatures, we also need signatures from Second to Third.
Correct, that's, but
Okay.
we're looking at the petition. The petition does not say closure from Second to Third. It says Third North.
Okay.
And that's what the business is signed.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's correct. It says from Third North.
I say we just bring it back at the next meeting. I mean, to get a map and get the signatures, and right now it doesn't sound like sounds kind of confusing.
So obviously, if we table this, this doesn't set them up to be able to open the beginning of
no.
May. So the petitions are signed for 3rd Street North, which is a half block. Can we do the first week as the petitions are signed and then do our due diligence for the remaining Saturdays? I know that gets to be more work, but the petitions are not signed to close the street from 2nd to 3rd. It's 3rd North. So I just want to be fair to the businesses that if it goes back to them that they did not sign, that they understand that the street in front of their stores would be closed. So I do want to do that. Now, they did sign saying they understand 3rd North would be closed. So for that first week, would it work to honor that? Or do we just hold back the farmer's market until after our first May meeting?
The memo was written so you could grant, City Manager Leon can grant permission to close the parking lot at 2nd and Douglas. So all of this goes away if they use the parking lot at 2nd and Douglas until we get an application turned in and go through the normal special event process, which has not happened.
So is there a reason that that option is not what's coming forward to the commission tonight?
Yeah. I guess we can go with the parking lot. At 2nd and Douglas? Yes.
That's why they want it on the street, not in the parking.
Thank you. That's what I was asking,
Yes.
is there obviously was a discussion on why
Yes.
that parking lot wouldn't work, and I was just curious what it was. Thank you.
Second to Third, is that sufficient, though, for the number of vendors that you have? But I'm just curious, again, about the setup with all of your vendors. You don't think it is sufficient if it's just 2nd to 3rd that's closed?
The way you have it cut up, with the concrete and the water beds and stuff, no. Can't get enough vendors in there. We couldn't get all the vendors in that one block. We've been outmeasured.
Yeah.
Last year, we had 20 vendors, all 20 vendors show up. They wouldn't fit in that space on both sides.
And actually, we might have 22 or 24 this year.
So you mentioned setting up on the sidewalk. That's not legal. There has to be a 5-foot walking way down that
Yes, and
corridor.
the sidewalks there are very wide. There would be a 5-foot walking area next to the building, and we would sit across, not where the flower beds are, but in the space between.
I did spend an afternoon, and I walked down on the sidewalks with Veronica and Greg and a couple of the other of the market vendors. There are a few spots on the sidewalk that they can legally set up. There's not many, but some of the parts where there's like little bump outs allows for the 5 feet. But again, there's maybe 5 throughout the block. So there's a few for the sidewalks, but I did show them what the appropriate way would be to set up. So there is still the 5 feet clearance.
Well, I think there's still a lot of stuff that needs to get worked out with that location, and I think that's probably for another time. At this point, I think we just approve the memorandum as for the northeast corner of 2nd and Douglas to use the public parking lot, as the memorandum states, and if we can get organized with the second location or the location that you prefer to bring that back to us, we can address it at that point. But I would make a motion to do that.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further commission discussion on this item?
Well, I have to commend you vendors for taking the initiative to still try and make this happen on your own. And, between us commissioners and city staff, I want you to understand too, very supportive of this effort. And, it's unfortunate that there's no longer a director in place within the Meridian District. So again, I applaud your initiative in working to make this happen again. It's certainly a wonderful addition every Saturday morning to our downtown. So I can just say that I certainly do appreciate that. And hopefully with our next meeting, we'll get everything squared away and it will be another runaway success.
We hope so too.
Would you mind if I just snap a photo of these and then I'll give them back to you so they have what you already have signed and I'll get them to the Parks Department? Okay, thank you.
Thank you for those comments, Commissioner Maibaum. I certainly agree. Would anyone in the audience like to address the commission on this item? Roll call.
Benson.
Aye.
Sargent.
Aye.
Burdick.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Maibaum.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Moser.
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, everyone. Number 2 under new business is consideration of memorandum 19-86 regarding resolution 19-17, a conditional use permit for an athletic field house on the Mount Marty College campus in a residential district at 1005 West 8th Street. And the Benedictine Convent of the Sacred Heart is the owner. What is your pleasure?
Move the memorandum.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Mingo, would you please describe this item for us?
Sure. As you know, when we have things like schools or churches or universities locate in a residential district, we go through what's called a conditional use permit. This area has been residentially designated since the beginning of our zoning ordinance back in the 1950s. It provides another layer of review for you as commissioners to help guide what may or may not occur on the property, as opposed to having it being zoned commercial or industrial or something of that nature. A majority of the property in the surrounding area is already part of the campus. The property across the street to the north is zoned B2 highway business. The property to the west is higher density multifamily residential uses. There are a number of other factors, including parking and lighting and access issues that are addressed in the memo. I'd be happy to answer specific questions about, but based on the type of facility proposed and the fact that we had no comment from the public subsequent to public hearing notices, we have a Planning Commission recommendation in the affirmative along with a staff recommendation to approve the conditional use permit for the Mount Marty College Fieldhouse. as described.
It looked to me like the band of trees will stay in on the north side. Is that correct?
So that, by all appearances, that looks possible, but that'll be up to them. There's not a landscape design requirement that was associated with this application, but it looks like it could be possible.
And is there parking on the north side as well as the east side?
Yeah, so they did have an alternate plan for parking on the north side, which they technically would not have been required to construct to meet their parking requirement, but I've been told in the last week and a half that it is included in the bid, and they will be constructing that.
And is the entrance on the east side then?
The primary entrance will be on the northeast corner of the facility.
Just planning for how I'm going to get in there for all these events. Is there any more commission discussion? Would anyone in the audience like to address the commission on this item? Roll call.
Aye.
Burdick.
Aye.
Gross.
Abstain.
Mybom.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Mosier.
Abstain. I work for the college.
Benson.
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye, motion passes. Number 3, under new business is consideration of memorandum 19-87 regarding resolution 19-18, a plat of 1005 West 8th Street, which is owned by the Benedictine Convent of the Sacred Heart. What is your pleasure?
Move the memorandum.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any commission discussion on this item? Would anyone in the audience like to address the commission on this item? Roll call.
Burdick.
Aye.
Gross. Abstain. Mybom.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Mosier.
Abstain.
Benson.
Aye.
Sarda.
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye, motion passes. Number 4, under new business is consideration of memorandum 19-94 regarding a bid award for the 21st Street reconstruction from Broadway Avenue to Douglas Avenue. And that bid award would go to Masonry Components for $980,459.85. What is your pleasure?
I'll move the memorandum.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any commission discussion on this item? I would just note for the public that this is $45,000 below our engineer's estimate. Would anyone in the audience like to address the commission on this item? Roll call.
Gross.
Aye.
Mybom.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Mosier.
Aye.
Benson.
Aye.
Sarda.
Aye.
Burdick.
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye, motion passes. Number 5, under new business is consideration of memorandum 19-63 regarding a funding request for the Welcome to Walnut event. And that is in the amount of $19,000 from the Yankton Parks and Rec Department. And the recommendation is that we take it from the BBB fund. What is your pleasure?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any commission discussion on this item? Brittany or Todd, can you discuss where plans are for this?
Very early in the process currently.
I do have a little bit more on my plate this year with the air show, so I haven't gotten quite into all the details for Welcome to Walnut. But I do have an intern for this summer, and I have talked to her. She starts June 3rd, I believe is that Monday, and she's going to help really kind of put this is going to kind of be her bigger project. So we're going to work on that together. But the initial thoughts are to make it not so much of like a street dance feel, but more of, and I say carnival very, very lightly, but more of a very inviting family kid atmosphere. I want to get a hold of the radio stations and seeing if maybe they can provide the music, and then spending that money on more like entertainment acts and more interactive entertainment acts that really get the community that attends involved and engaging, with Walnut Street instead of just kind of going, sitting, and chit-chatting. I really want it to be more of an engaging and interactive event. So very early in the planning stages, but we have an idea. Just waiting for my intern to come. She's really excited. We've talked about it, and we'll have more plans shortly.
I think that sounds like an excellent plan. I was wondering if maybe too we could incorporate some educational elements for, why did we choose the trees we chose, the history of public involvement, just things that highlight that these decisions were made for a reason, and a lot of it had to do with public input and the input of architectural students and professionals. So I think that environment you'll create will be conducive to that sort of learning environment as well.
Yeah, that's great. I'm going to have Todd will write that down and pass it on to me. But
I mentioned the trees especially because we know how passionate people are about the trees in our downtown
right.
streets.
We're also going to have the air show is that weekend as well. And so we've talked to some of the acts, and they will be doing some flyovers that night to kind of help engage people, the community for the following day's events. And then the library is actually also interested in kind of starting a new pop-up library type thing. And so I've communicated with them, and maybe this would be a nice fun event for them to kind of start their whole pop-up library initiative. I've also been in contact with some other community organizations that might be doing something there. The Meridian District Art Project might take that opportunity to do something there to help engage the kids, and then also explain to them what else is going on within the Meridian District. So thank you for that, Mayor Nathan Johnson.
Stephanie and I were just talking about how we're looking forward to getting our faces painted again.
Ooh, superheroes.
Mm-hmm.
I'll make sure to have a face painter there.
That was at the downtown arts event last September. We should mention that part of this funding goes to purchasing a portable stage, which will be used at this event, and the Music at the Meridian and other things that come along.
Yeah, through the years, we've had discussions about building a permanent stage for big concerts and regular concerts, and we've talked about portable stages. Harvest Halloween the last few years has been lucky enough to use a stage from Mount Marty that Parks Department hauls back and forth, but we've been informed that Mount Marty's not going to let outside groups use it as much anymore, or maybe no outside groups. So we have a need with how Music at the Meridian has evolved and having them at the ground level and in asphalt, and it just hasn't worked out real well for us. We've had a need to have one at the Holiday Festival of Lights to get the speakers and the carolers up above so people can kind of see what's going on. So yeah, we just have enough events going on that we have a need that we thought now with the air show, if this would be the time this summer to probably look at buying that stage that's weather resistant and can be moved around to outside events.
I think that would be a very worthwhile purchase. Okay, I've been hogging the mic. Anyone else have any questions?
So the portable stage, we're going to get that right away then? And you're going to use it for Music at the Meridian?
Yeah, I think Music at the Meridian would be the first event. I'm not aware of one that we would do before then. So it would be July 4 would be our first concert. I don't think there was an event ahead of that. So July 4.
Any further questions?
I would say a stage like that, $10,000, it's a lot of money, but it's a fantastic opportunity for some business here in town to sponsor the stage wherever it may go. $10,000 is a lot of money out of our BBB. I'm surprised that there isn't any kind of matching opportunity here or reaching out to businesses to see if they want to sponsor this in some way, shape, or form, because a portable stage that's going to be at city events, and we're not going to rent it out, I assume, either? Kind of like the Mount Marty strategy?
Yeah, not the plan at this time, no.
Okay. Something to think about. Any other commissioner thoughts on that idea?
Yeah, if city staff thinks that through and it will work with our policies, I think that'd be fantastic.
Mount Marty previously never charged if people, or if certain entities borrowed their stage, is that right?
Kathy Clatworthy always lined that up and just called us and said, hey, we're going to need the stage again. Can you move it for us? So whether they rented it or not, I do not know that information.
The reason why Mount Marty is no longer allowing people to use their stages, it's just not meant for big bands like that. And so it was really wearing and tearing on their stage that they need to use for their own reasons too. And so their stage was not meant for big bands, and a lot of the entities were using it for big bands. So that's the reason why Mount Marty is no longer lending out their stage. And I'm not sure if it was a fee or not. We haven't used it in the past because by the time we wanted to use it, they had already decided that it was just too much wear and tear for lending it out all the time.
All right. Would anyone in the audience like to address the commission on this item? Roll call.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Number 6 under new business is consideration of memorandum 19-91 regarding the Music at the Meridian concert series. And that will be from 6 to 8 p.m. on July 4th, 11th, 18th, 25th, and August 11th, 8th, and 15th. What is your pleasure?
I'll move the memorandum.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Is there any commission discussion on this item? When are you making the band announcements?
So I'm trying really hard to do more variety this year. Really looking out and getting some more unique to Yankton bands. 2 weeks ago, I actually had a band that couldn't make the rerouting work, and then last week I had another band that had to pull out because of a rerouting situation. They had the opportunity to go overseas and wanted to take it. So I'm in the process. I have some inquiries out to 2 bands for those dates, and so I'm just kind of waiting on feedback. The bands that I've been in contact with are kind of asking a lot, and so I'm trying to find where we stick within our budget to ask for bands. So as soon as I can get those at least confirmed, then I'll announce. I've been really antsy to make that make that announcement too, but I don't want to, announce too early and then not have a band actually confirmed. So soon, I hope.
And this year there won't be any farmers market associated with it.
Right.
We'll
So
have a food truck.
I did speak with them, and I don't want to totally disable that partnership with them on Thursday nights, and I don't want them to miss out on the opportunity of all those people. But I did require them to have at least 8 to 10 vendors there every single week, so it is consistent, and so that people know when they go to the Yankton's farmers market, they're getting a good quality market, because I do believe we have a good quality market. But on Thursdays, when there's only 1 or 2 vendors, and they're maybe not the produce vendors, I think it maybe sets a bad example of what our market's like on Saturday. And so what I felt like was for their best interest, I did require that they have 8 to 10 vendors there every single week, and half of them had to be produce vendors. So I'm not quite sure yet. There are some that have shown interest, and there are some who have not. And so I will ask, probably at the beginning of June, once their market is a month in, if they can give me an official confirmation whether that'll be happening on Thursday nights or not. And then I've also, we were talking with the designers for the Meridian mural this year. I was talking to them just today, and we should have that all completed by June 1st, so we'll be able to make that announcement on June 1st too. So another great year for music at the Meridian, I think.
And Ben's Brewing will be there though, right?
Correct, yep.
Okay. And will there be a food truck or not?
Yeah, yep, so we're still going to team up with the local food trucks. Craig Shave Ice is confirmed, Broken Trellis is confirmed, and Rolling Waiters is confirmed. So we will have those there as well. The first Music at the Meridian is on July 4th, so I think we'll look for 1 or 2 others for sure, just because we're anticipating a bigger crowd that night. And there's also, that night it'll be from 6 to 10 instead of from 6 to 8, just because the fireworks start at 10 and we want to keep people down there. And the fireworks come later.
All right.
Thank you.
Any other commission discussion? Would anyone in the audience like to address the commission? Roll call.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye, motion passes. Number 7 under new business is consideration of memorandum 19-90 regarding a request by the City of Yankton Parks and Recreation Department for a fireworks public display on July 4th, 2019. What is your pleasure?
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Is there any commission discussion on this item? So this is from the top of the Meridian Bridge. Is there anything else different this year?
Besides it being, the first night of music at the Meridian, in the past, I've heard from commissioners and from city staff and from the community, why isn't there something on 4th of July? And I think 4th of July is one of those unique holidays where everyone wants to enjoy, but they also usually have to work the next day depending on when the 4th of July falls on. And so I think this will be a really good year to kind of test out how a 4th of July event works. So I think we're really excited about that, having it on the first night of music at the Meridian. And then we did move it to the bridge. When I was talking to our Jeff Coster, he's our pyrotechnician, he had said that in talking with Jay Harmlick, who owns now, or I don't know if he owns, I think he just leases it right now, is planning to buy that property, is potentially thinking about expanding in the future years, and so had asked if we move it to the bridge, so we can start getting people used to that. And since Riverboat Days had it on the bridge last year, people are kind of getting excited about having it on the bridge and are used to there. So that's one of the reasons why we did move it. I did make sure to let Jeff know. I think we will still have a lot of people over at Riverside Park because it is such a big area. Not everyone wants to go and hear music and all that kind of stuff. And so we're going to make sure that the display is viewable. Viewable, that's the word, from both sides. So we're going to make sure that it's not just going off of one side, but he said that he's going to kind of get creative and will possibly use, something on the lower deck on both sides, so that way it's, everyone can see it, but he's not quite sure yet.
What is the wear and tear on the bridge long-term, putting all the fireworks up there, shooting them from there? Load capacity?
We don't let them use, so last year that was part of the discussion at Riverboat Days. They couldn't drive trucks up onto the bridge. They had to do it either walking them on or using the small ATV, and they have no issue with that. So it's just a matter of them getting stuff up on there. So. Normally in the past, if they shoot at 10, we shut the bridge down. Obviously, the upper deck is shut down whenever they decide to set up, and sometimes that's based on weather forecast, so it could be sometime that morning, or in the past it's been even the day before. And then the lower level, if they're not setting anything up on it, we would allow pedestrians on it, and usually it's half hour, 45 minutes before 10 o'clock that we would shut it down.
And who does security if they set it up the night before? Is that patrolled by us, or them have to secure their own
by them? But Jeff did. I told him we were concerned about maybe shutting it because 4th of July is a holiday where people are home, and he said that they would close it no later than 10 a.m. or no earlier than 10 a.m. as long as the weather is decent. Then they could set it up at 10 a.m. or no earlier than 10 a.m. so it's open for the morning walkers. I don't know what that weather, what kind of weather would look like if they need to set it up the night before, but he assured me that 10 a.m. should be fine.
And then the next month, they're also lined up to do the Riverboat Days fireworks, Premier Pyrotechnics and Jeff. Any insight into whether the shows are going to be fundamentally different or probably the same? What's going to make this one different from Riverboat Days?
So Riverboat Days does have a larger budget, a very large budget. So theirs, I think, theirs is going to just be more detailed, maybe is the best word for it. I don't know. I did ask Jeff. I learned a lot about fireworks. I asked him if there was a way to view what a show would look like, and he said right now they don't. That business doesn't have that technology. He kind of comes up with the shows themselves, but I am very much a unique person when I come to my events, and I kind of like to stand out. So I did let him know, I don't want every show to be the same, and I definitely don't want, people come from all over. People come from all over the small towns in the area for both 4th of July and Riverboat Days. So I don't want them coming for the exact same show. So he knows that those are my wants and kind of our expectations for funding the 4th of July fireworks, that they're different. I don't know what they're going to look like yet.
And I guess I go back to my question, whether they set up the night before or during the event. When we do fireworks on the bridge, do we have to provide any additional security to make sure people don't walk up the ramps, or are barricades good enough that people understand they can't use that level?
So for the top level, and for when they're set up, they have people there. So it's their staff. For the lower level, I think we'll probably pull from the Parks Department or volunteers to close down that lower level to make sure that people aren't sneaking onto the lower level of the bridge. When Riverboat Days did it, we required that the Riverboat Days committee had people on the bottom on both sides just to make sure that no one's sneaking on there, and they said that that went really well. They had no one trying to sneak on there. They had a couple people stop and ask questions, but we'll pull from the Parks Department or from volunteers to close that lower level when it is time to close that lower level. Unless they have to close for setup, then it is their responsibility.
Any more questions? Thank you both for organizing this.
Thank you.
Would anyone in the audience like to address the commission on this item? Roll call.
Aye.
Benson.
Aye.
Sarda.
Aye.
Ferdig.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Mybom.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye. Motion passes. Number 8 under new business is consideration of memorandum 19-95 in support of resolution 19-19 regarding a joint powers tipping rate increase. What is your pleasure?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Amy or Al, do you want to tell us the plan here?
Sure. So we've been working with the Joint Powers Board. Both Al and I and Commissioner Gross are on that board from the city, and we've been talking collectively with them, with Vermillion and with the partnering counties about increasing the tipping fees for the haulers at both the transfer station and at the Vermillion landfill. So in order to keep up with just our cost of operation, but also we have some large capital costs that we've both been deferring at both sites, we need to look at increasing the tipping fees. And I actually was the one that proposed whatever tipping fee we do, let's do something multi-year as opposed to waiting and then jumping them bigger and bigger. For me personally, I don't like that, and then you give the haulers some expectation of what's to come. So we talked about a 3-year increase, and so what we're proposing, you can see there in the memorandum, I won't read them all, is it's just a couple of dollars, $2-3 more, increasing throughout the course of 3 years, the effective July 1 of this year, and then 2020 and 2021, and that's for licensed haulers. There's one rate, and it increasingly gets a little bit higher for unlicensed, and then the out-of-county licensed as well. And we also have a rate increase for garbage and construction debris that would come into our transfer station. So what we're asking of you this evening is to consider these rates, and then the Vermillion City Council would take a look at the rates at the landfill and make the act on those for their facility. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have about the rates or about the Joint Powers Board discussion.
So are these proposed as part of a study? And do we know that we'll still be competitive?
Yes and no. So definitely in the study, I think that was conducted in 2017, perhaps. Now, 2 years ago, the consultant suggested that we look at our, cost of service, there was another number of recommendations there as well. One recommendation that was made that we've changed in our operations is to change the way recycling is handled at facilities, and we've done that. You all know that our citizens are paying for that, and that's not something that we're working through joint powers with. We needed to balance the rates for the tipping fees, the increase, a little bit with, you don't want to put them so high that people that are as close to Mitchell as they are to Yankton go to Mitchell and not Yankton. And we also want to try to drive, when possible, our service right to Vermillion. However, for these changes, we don't anticipate someone's going to take the extra 25 miles to Vermillion unless they're midway between, So it all is in one pool of funds. So we're trying to stay competitive yet stay operational.
Is there any more commission discussion?
Do you remember the last time tipping fees were raised and what they were raised?
No, you were going to ask that, and I believe we raised them in 2017, so it's been 2 years now, I think.
Correct, and I believe they went up $3.50 at that time.
I think $3.50. I didn't remember the exact rate. I can't believe I'm going to say this publicly, but I think it's like any other utility. We got to stay aggressive, and regular increases like everything else, or we're going to get behind. And no one likes a rate increase, but we also have to purchase equipment and pay employees and all those things. So we have to be consistent, at least, I think, in increasing rates to accommodate our costs.
And this does not affect city people?
Correct. This isn't about residential, unless there happen to be a licensed hauler themselves. It's not going to impact the residential rates. We've increased the residential rates already for folks, and we do that each year, typically in our budget recommendation.
Actually, it was February of 2018 when we increased ours the last time.
Are you sure you want to leave? You have all this good knowledge. Okay, I stand corrected, February of 18. So we have been keeping up a little bit. I think maybe we talked about it in 17 and never got it done until 18, probably.
I would just add that at some point the commission is going to have to talk about recycling, and I think Joint Powers is going to have to talk about recycling, because Yankton is paying for its own and Vermillion is running theirs through the Joint Powers. And so at some point that has to be rectified. That's a point I did bring up at the last Joint Powers meeting.
Amy, how much of this is just helping us to stay functional, and how much of it is actually going towards needed updates?
If you remember, we pushed at the beginning of last year's budget season, we pushed some of our capital items, excuse me, a further year because we didn't have enough. We were going to take our balance down to nothing. How much of this is going to be operational? That really depends on how they, out at the transfer station, and how Vermillion operates operationally. It's more than we would need operational because we're trying to fund capital needs too. But again, it's imperative that we have to control our operating costs in order to have some of this go to capital.
And we did some things recently that we used to charge for that we are not charging for anymore, like trees and branches. And then we had the free drop-off for the flood material, so I don't know how that's going to shake out, but.
Is there any more discussion? Would anyone in the audience like to address the commission on this item? Roll call.
Benson.
Aye.
Sarda.
Aye.
Fertig.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Mybom.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Mosier.
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye, motion passes. Number 9, under new business, is consideration of memorandum 19-96 regarding a memorandum of understanding between the City of Yankton and the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees. And this would give our employees July 5th off as a holiday. And that is part of the commission wanting to recognize city employees for the work they did during the recent flooding event back in March. And, a lot of them didn't know what was going on in their own homes, and instead they focused on what was going on in the city and the safety and the condition of our citizens' property. So this is a way to recognize them and allow them to spend some extra time with their families during a long holiday weekend. So this would be a Friday. July 4th is on a Thursday. This would be Friday, then you'd have a weekend. What is your pleasure?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any commission discussion? Would anyone in the audience, did I hear something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say on behalf of the city employees, this is very generous, and we very much appreciate the gesture. What we did on March 13th is what we will do any day, and that's, serve the public. But thank you very much on behalf of all of us.
Would anyone in the audience like to address the commission? Roll call.
Aye.
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 Aye. I will abstain. My husband works for the city.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. There will be no executive session tonight. We no longer need it. So with that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? This meeting is adjourned.